All right, stand by. 10 seconds to go.
Talent.
Ready,
Roll
camera.
for
Three,
record.
Cue talent.
2,
One.
1. Roll for record.
At the top of everyone's rundown today is the email scandal that's been rocking the political world. Shockingly, this one doesn't involve Steven Cruiser and Sydney Leathers. Hillary Clinton finally spoke out, but did she make things worse rather than better? I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. Joining us from Dallas, Texas is author and political satirist Scott Ott. And sitting right next to me is stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Steven Cruiser. Let's go ahead and listen to a little of what Hillary had to say in her own words.
When I got to work as Secretary of State, I opted for convenience to use my personal email account, which was allowed by the State Department, because I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two.
There you go. I think she did have two, but one was being used by Bill for Tinder.
Yeah.
Now, Cruiser, she had a disastrous book tour when her book came out. This is her first real scandal that she's had since the book tour. And I think when you look at that press conference that she messed up about as much as you could possibly mess up. She didn't do anything to make the story go away. We're talking about it today. It's in all the newspapers. I think this story has legs. Is Hillary Clinton a paper tiger?
Oh, definitely. And I think what we're seeing here, it's like we popped open a time capsule from 1996 and she came out and did damage control a la that era for herself right now. She doesn't understand the digital age at all. She doesn't. That's why it took her so long to respond. It took her 2 days to tweet about it. It's taken her a week to set up a press conference to talk about it. And she thinks she's in 90s Clinton era damage control mode here, where she can just come out and shame everybody and dismiss everything. Kudos to her, though, for being the first prominent Democrat in a long time to lead by admitting that she was lazy. I'm glad she went with that.
You know, Scott, the Clintons have always had a problem with the truth. And one of the things that she said in the press conference was that she used that email for private emails between her and Chelsea about the wedding and her and Bill Clinton. The only problem, her husband, the only problem that she has there is Bill Clinton says that he's only sent 2 emails in his entire life. One of them, or both of them actually, were when he was president. One of them, according to a spokesman, was sent to an astronaut, and the other one, John Glenn, in fact, in 1998, making a return trip into space. And the other one was also sent when he was president. So that would mean that Hillary Clinton wasn't emailing with Bill. If she was communicating with Bill over the email, she was communicating with staffers that she didn't want to talk about because it makes them seem like they're very wealthy and they rely on a bunch of people to do all their work for them, or that she and Bill have kind of a weird relationship where they don't talk to each other, they talk to each other through other people. Is she going to get in trouble for that fib?
Well, you know, this is quite a challenge because when you ask which Clinton was lying, I think at this point you have to flip a coin and somehow it's going to land on both sides or on the edge. I mean, this is really a difficult call. She also doesn't seem to talk about being in the 90s, and not only is she wearing my grandmother's wool coat from the early 1960s, but she doesn't seem to understand that you can have more than one email account on a device either, that she has to have multiple devices. Hang on a second. One of my phones is buzzing here. No, hang on a sec. It's not that one. No, wait a minute. Hang on. No, it's not that one. Wait. It's got to be this one. Hello, Bill.
Look at that.
Yes. How are you? I mean, and there was nothing that was credible about the whole thing. And watch her eye movement in that press conference. I believe what I read today, even though I didn't know this, that I read she hasn't done a news conference since she was running for president.
Cruiser, put your comic hat on here for a second, because one of the things that happened this last week was that Saturday Night Live just absolutely killed her. It was a hilarious segment, but they turned her into a really creepy type of character where you know it's going to be a recurring theme throughout the whole presidential campaign. We can laugh off Saturday Night Live as a comedy show that comes on in the middle of the night that's irrelevant in terms of the overall political world. But it helped turn Al Gore into a joke. Mm-hmm. It helped turn Sarah Palin into a joke. Most people think that she said, "I can see Alaska from my house." She didn't say it. Tina Fey did, and helped turn Jerry Ford into a joke, Dan Quayle into a joke. Is this going to be a problem for her? I can't imagine what they're going to do to her next week after this bizarre press conference.
If she doesn't use her little Clinton media fingers to shut them down, yes, it's going to be a problem because she really does lend herself to caricature. I mean, there's like Scott's talking about his grandma's wool coat. If you look at a full shot, it's more like she's auditioning for the North Korea role. She wants to take over there. There are these little Mao-esque dictator jackets that she wears all the time. The way she dresses is ridiculous. The fact that she's so out of touch with everything is ridiculous. It's everything about her just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? She's uncomfortable in these settings because she doesn't like people, they don't like her, and no matter what the media tries, they can't make people like her. So I think that Saturday Night Live and other satirists are going to start having a field day with her because it's so easy. She's just gifting everyone. She's there, here's the silver platter, do what you need with this.
And you know, Scott, the politics of this are also interesting because the Obama administration is giving her no cover at all. We've seen Josh Earnest contradict some of the things that she said. We've seen Robert Gibbs and David Axelrod go on television and say that her behavior is bizarre. What does that mean to you that the Obama administration is not going out on a limb to save her bacon here?
It means to me that Benjamin Netanyahu just spoke to a joint session of Congress and made a compelling argument that the deal that President Obama is about to make with Iran is a really bad deal. And boy, isn't it great that this Clinton email story came along just now. Let's talk about Tinder. Let's keep throwing some Tinder on that fire. Let's keep that thing going as long as possible. I really think that, I don't think it was coordinated in advance and they said, hey, let's start leaking this story to become a distraction and have a wag the dog scenario. But I really do think that the Obama administration is taking full advantage of the fact that now everybody's eyes are off this bad deal with Iran and focused on this old lady who's still trying to figure out how to use her phone.
Well, there's also the fact, as we've discussed many times here, that the Clintons and the Obamas hate each other. There is zero love lost there whatsoever. They don't like each other. I don't think this president or the people closest to him would be upset at all if Hillary were to develop a health problem and drop out of the race soon.
Hillary's defenders, chief among them Lanny Davis, who's been all over TV
he's sad to watch
defending
right now.
her. It really is. And David Brock is another one.
Yes.
Who, by the way, his hair keeps getting bigger every time he appears on TV.
Talk about caricatures. He's
you know, he apparently wears a monocle. That was in the Maureen Dowd column.
God.
I don't know what happened to him, but he's lost his mind.
Why not?
Anyway, a lot of them are saying the timeline benefits Hillary because we're so far out of the Iowa caucuses, we're so far out of the general election. Get it out now, it's not that big of a deal. I think the exact opposite. I think the timing is awful for Hillary because there's blood in the water right now when there's still time for Democrats to jump in the primary and be real irritants to her in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. And we've heard a lot about Martin O'Malley, the former governor of Maryland. It looks like he is definitely in. And you see Elizabeth Warren. She just spoke to the firefighters union. They had a big conference in Washington, D.C. She's keeping her name out there. You have Bernie Sanders, who is making the trek across the country, getting Democrats all ginned up about a possible candidacy for him. She needs to be very careful. She needs to play this month, the next month, and the following months pretty safely to keep these people from jumping in. Because if she has a contested primary, this thing could blow up before the Republicans settle on a nominee.
You left out one name there. There is only one prominent Democrat who's visited all of the early primary states for the Democrats, and he happens to be the Vice President of the United States.
That's true.
Yep. So, yes, I agree with you, and I think that all I know is Martin O'Malley's finding a reporter to comment on something, too, like every 4.5 seconds right now. Since even when he's saying, I'm weary of this scandal, he's finding a lot of people to tell that he's weary of this email scandal. So, yeah, but Biden's out there, too.
She's got nothing positive going on either, and that's the problem, because she's not campaigning. She has no message out there. She has no stump speech, and so every time she appears in the news, she's just sort of this festering bag of pus that's nothing but problems. There's no counter for her to be able to say, yeah, well, you know, we've moved beyond that now, and let's talk about my vision for America. All we're talking about is what a mess she is.
And I think that's because we're back to the 90s thing where she's being coy because she thinks she can manipulate the media message completely like she used to, and she can't.
Let me ask you a question, a point-blank question, then we'll go to Scott for this.
Okay.
Can she keep up the inevitability if she has a contested primary?
No, I mean, that destroys it right there. And the fact that some of the usual suspects are already harping on her, like the New York Times and Politico's back and forth. One day they love her, the next day they're saying, what about all these other people? So I think the fact that some of the media is breaking ranks already is going to destroy that. And then if other people start jumping in, it ruins it.
Scott?
There is one thing that the Democrats cannot tolerate, and they can tolerate a lot. I mean, they can tolerate bad ideology. They can tolerate somebody who doesn't even respect our Constitution. They can tolerate scandals. But what they can't tolerate is somebody who doesn't know how to handle themselves in front of the camera. And they are not going to go from the guy who was the coolest thing to ever walk into the room to Hillary Clinton. And she's demonstrating a lack of savvy that exceeds even John McCain's 2008 lack of savvy.
And you know what? People like her in the Democratic Party because they love Bill Clinton. But she did not inherit Bill Clinton's political skills and political instincts. It's not a mistake that Bill Clinton has only sent 2 emails in his entire life. He knew better. She didn't.
I think you just hit on the central point there. I don't think people like her. I think they like the Clinton legacy. I don't think there's anybody that likes Hillary Clinton who isn't named Chelsea, okay? Or whatever the grandbaby's name is now. I don't think she's a likable human being. People like the Clinton legacy. They like, for Bill's sake, they would like to see his wife then become president and have that whole imperial thing going on, but I don't think anybody likes her.
All right, Steven Cruiser gets the last word. Now you've heard what we think. What do you think? Will Hillary survive this scandal? Leave your comments in the comment section below. For The Rundown, I'm John Phillips, joined by Steven Cruiser and our pal Scott Ott. Thanks so much for watching.